Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to do an oil change on your Audi B5 S4 with the 2.7T turbo. Funnel as well, a moving pad or something to lay on so that way you don't hurt your knees, an oil filter wrench, a 19mm socket with an appropriate ratchet, a flathead screwdriver. These are optional, side cutters and zip ties depending if there's any panels that may have cracked and it's just hanging. You'll also need 7 quarts, 5W40 oil. I use the Shell Rotela T6, and the oil filter, which you can get from the Audi dealer for roughly about 13 bucks, or at least that's what my local one is. You could also pick up the similar Mann filter from Advanced Auto or AutoZone. And then the last thing you're going to need is a set of ramps and optional cold beverage. Alright, so first things first, what you're going to want to do is line up your ramps in center of your front tires, as you can see. And then once you get it up on the ramps, make sure you leave it in gear and also pull the e-brake. Alright, once you're underneath the car, you're going to see that there is 3 screws, or at least on mine there's one in the center, then there'll be one on the far side, and then one over here, which mine is missing. Also, there will be 3 in the back in similar locations. Oh, sorry, 3? Yeah, 3. One here, which is zip tied, which is why I need the side cutters. One on the right hand side and one on the far left. I'm planning on replacing this. This was the previous owner. I don't know what they hit, small animal or something, but all this is getting replaced. But it's 3 in the back and then 3 in the front, and you just need a flathead to untighten it. It should catch in the in this bottom pan, this bottom cover, so it should be able to stay in. If not, you could always put it back in after. Alright, and with the back end free, which is what I recommend starting with, the 3 in the back, I would start sliding forward, move your body forward a little bit, and then start getting these ones in the front. Also, recommendation is make sure you have some sort of eye protection, as you don't know what is underneath this panel. It could be oil, it could be dirt, sand, whatever else, and you do not want that in your eyes. Alright, and with all of the bolts loose, all you gotta do is just slowly pull down, and it should come off on either side. And what you're going to find is your oil filter, which is right here. If anybody wants to take note and is using the Mann filter, that is the model number. And your oil bolt for your oil pan. Your oil pan's right here. And this is the bolt that you'll need the 19mm socket to do. And like I said, while you're underneath here, check anything that you can to see if there's any leaks, anything that's broken or loose, and then take note of it so that way you know what needs to get replaced. Like for mine, I could tell that the oil pan gasket is due. This car is currently at 108,000 miles, and the oil pan gasket's due. And I know that the oil pan has a small little crack right here, but it's not leaking or bleeding oil. So probably next oil change I'll get that fixed. It's only a $50 part, brand new. Alright, so now you're just going to position the oil pan, the catch underneath here, where the bolt is right here. This will come spewing out, so you want to kind of 50-50 it. And then grab your 19, put it on. I should be doing this with gloves. And then just slowly break it. And remember, lefty loosey, righty tighty, what we learned in school. And then just slowly back it out. I'm gonna pause the video so that way I don't get burning oil spilled all over my hands. And another thing to note is you should replace this washer during every oil change at least. It's a crush washer, so it's only good for so long. Alright, so as you can see, we got it out and it's draining into the pan. And you just want to center it once it starts to come to a slow drip. Another thing I forgot to mention, which you should probably already know, is carry plenty of rags, because you'll need it. Alright, next thing that's up that you'll want to do is grab the filter wrench just to break the seal on this, and then slowly loosen it up. Another tip with doing oil changes, if you want it to drain slightly faster, just break the seal on the top one, so that way gravity takes effect and it can pull a vacuum all the way down. And as you can see, it's just finishing up. Okay, once it's pretty much slowed down to a drip, you can reinstall your washer and bolt. I'd start tightening it by hand till you get to a certain point where you can't tighten it. And then there is a certain amount of torque that you're supposed to put on the wrench, but what I usually do is the trick of quarter turn after it's tight. You don't need to sock it down because that's how you end up stripping it. Alright, for the oil strap, to get the filter, all you have to do is get it over the center. Come on. You don't need to get it all the way on, you just need to break the seal. And then it's just slightly. And then you should get it to a point where you can twist it off by hand, which it should be good to go now. Alright, so when you start twisting this off, there is going to be some oil inside the can. I would suggest just keeping the oil pan, the catch, right underneath it just in case anything spills out so you don't have a mess in your driveway. As you can see. So just move a little bit closer. Keep going, keep going. There'll also be a little rubber piece, depending on when your oil change was done last. It may be stuck to this housing. Just make sure there's nothing and you can see bare metal. Nothing should have a black ring on it. There we go. And then just empty it out into the bucket. And then once that stops dripping, you can just take a rag to it and just wipe up. Also, once you pull the oil pan out, just check to see that there's no chunky metal fragments or anything like that, because if there is, then you'll need to take it to a mechanic to get further diagnosed. But as you can see, it's just a nice worn-in brown, no metal. Alright, so your next step's going to be to break out the new oil filter. And what you're going to want to do with this, what I recommend doing, as you can see, nice and clean, and it's empty, there's no oil in it. What I would suggest is taking one of these quarts, probably filling this in the hole about either a third of the way or half of the way, so that way it's already preloaded with oil, with a lubricant. And then keep your bucket underneath and then screw it back on. And you're going to go, and this only goes on hand tight. You don't need to torque this down. Alright, and we just screw this on until it goes on snug. And then, like I said, do not use that filter strap. Just tighten this by hand till it stops and there's no oil leaking out from around the edge. And then after that, you're done. Okay, so next comes the fun part, filling the oil back into the engine. So what you're going to do, obviously, is loosen the cap up, put it somewhere where it will not fall down into the engine bay, because that's the last thing you want. Put the funnel in, and then what I would suggest is starting with one of the 5-quart jugs first and slowly pour it in, because the last thing you want is oil spilling all down, hitting the turbo, and all you see is smoke as the oil burns off. So slow and steady wins the race. Alright, once you poured all 6.5 quarts, because remember, we did put half of it into the oil filter, just remove it, make sure there's no drips, and then all you have to do is put the cover back on. Now, what you're also going to want to do is, since we have to dispose of this oil, make sure you keep your containers around so that way you can use these empty bottles to fill it back up. and then you should be able to drop it off at your local AutoZone, Advanced Auto, wherever. They usually take the oil. Just ask them at the front, and there usually isn't a charge. And before we button anything up and put the plate back, you just want to make sure that there's no oil leaking, so that way you know that everything's nice and snug and tight. Same thing with this. And once it's good, what you're going to do is you're going to start the car, leave it for 30 seconds with your foot on the pedal at about 1500 to 2000 RPM just to get the oil flowing again, and then turn it off, come back underneath, and then check just to make sure that that there's nothing leaking. And so, with your e-brake on, just bring the revs up to about 15 to 2000 and hold it there for about a good 20 to 30 seconds. Alright, now that it's been about 30 seconds to a minute, all you gotta do is turn it off. So clutch in, turn it off, obviously, leave it in gear. And then we just go underneath and check to make sure there's nothing leaking. As you can see, no drips, no drips. So that's nice and clean. So all you have to do is reattach the plate again. Remember, 3 screws in front and then the 3 in the back. I'd probably suggest doing the back ones first because it has to catch underneath the wheel wells. And then once you're done with that, just make sure that all your tools and stuff is moved to the side, because the last thing you want is a punctured tire in a broken tool possibly. Alright, so once you're done, just back it off the ramps. Let it run for a couple minutes just to get everything else flowing. And that's pretty much it. So thanks guys for watching on how to do an oil change on a B5 S4. Like this video if you liked it, dislike if you disliked it, and remember to always subscribe. Thank you.